Greetings, weary travelers, and welcome to The Keep. My name is Lindsay the Keeper, and while most patrons have their own personal goals they want their subordinates to complete, mine just wants me to tell cringy TTRPGs horror stories with the help of my assistants, Tao. Other subreddits that I've always enjoyed, other than r/RPG horror stories and r/D&D horror stories, thanks to r/, is r/Am I the A-hole, r/Entitled Parents, r/Petty Revenge, r/Pro Revenge, and of course r/Malicious Compliance. I have read r/Am I the A-hole before on this channel since the story happened to be posted in r/RPG horror stories. But I also found recently a subreddit called r/D&D Am I the A-hole, where people who are part of the TTRPG communities ask Reddit if they are the a-hole or not, based off a situation they were a part of. Because of this, I feel like contributing to this, but in a video aspect as well. In today's video, we have 3 Am I the A-hole D&D themed stories where the OPs asked if they were the a-hole or not. Now, sit back, relax, and cuddle up to your favorite Tindril as we dive in and see if the OPs are indeed the a-hole or not. And yes, I will be using the word a-hole throughout the video. Makes editing very easy for me. Enjoy! This was written by user Angel9508 with the title, Player leaves group and takes 2 people with them. Game disbands. Am I the a-hole? This happened a couple years ago in a friend group and admittedly depressed me out of the hobby for a few months. A group of us were in a game together, DM'd by the player at hand's SO, of which they were also a part of, and after months of brewing, I come up with my own world and all that. I pitched the idea to the group, give them the general info, and they want to give it a shot. I'm super excited. The party consists of this player, their SO, their best friend, and 2 of our mutual friends. Yeah, I'm gonna make it easier and give each person a gender-neutral name so we can keep track. So, this player will be named Max, their SO will be Alex, their best friend will be Billy, and the 2 mutuals will be Joe and Charlie, if they get mentioned. Okay, let's keep going. I'm fairly lenient with the rules, and when it comes to homebrew, I just ask that people run it by me first. I also express how I'm trying to keep the game pretty low to the ground and casual. Joe and Charlie tell me what they're looking for in the campaign, and our styles of play seems to mesh well in Alex's campaign, so I'm confident I can deliver. Alex and Billy say they want to have some RP focus, but emphasize they want Max to mainly have fun. At the time, I brush it off as I want everyone at the table to have fun and didn't really pay the comment much mind. As we go into character creation, I get Joe and Charlie's info and they're all set and ready to play and are excited. We have a gnome artificer in search of an ancient artifact that could lead to new magic, and a kobold pirate searching for their crew that betrayed them, and treasure, of course. Billy and Alex come up with characters that are essentially sidekicks to Max. One is a goblin that acts as their pet, and the other is a homebrew race that acts as their protector. Max had handpicked a pretty overturned homebrew class and/or race that I had to bring down, and they weren't happy I did that. I'm talking multiple extra proficiency, a free feat, and a heal at level 1 with no limits. It was pretty overturned. Backstory-wise, like I said, the goblin was their pet and nothing else. I didn't get upset at this because I knew some people take a while to get into the character and form a backstory, so it was no problem. Alex was a similar case, but had this village and the life around it that was actually pretty interesting, though they were only adventuring for the sake of Max's PC. When it came to Max's backstory, it actually had none as well. From what they told me, they popped into existence one day and were trying to find out where they came from. I asked them to explain it a bit more to me to find what direction they wanted, and they explained their character is a summoned creature trying to find who summoned them. I was rolling with it until they started explaining how this character is the summon of their character from Alex's campaign, and they wanted to go there and find them. I mentioned that the campaigns aren't connected and are two separate things, as Alex had world built his entire campaign and I didn't want to intrude on that. But mainly, I wanted to play in the setting I came up with. Now, I've DM'd enough to know that you can never get too attached to an NPC's plans or ideas you come up with, but the thought of leaving my entire world just to play in Alex's left a bad taste in my mouth, especially after I had pitched this and everyone seemed excited for it. I tried to work with Max, asking if we could change the goal a bit to keep it in tune with the setting. I even offered to have the party be able to communicate with the other world, albeit at a much higher level, so they can accomplish their goal but stay in the setting. Alex starts talking to me about multiverse theory and interplanar travel and how we can make it work, and he goes on for about an hour. I'm pretty adamant and tell them it's going to stay in this setting, as that was what I sold them on and also what they said they wanted to try out. I offer more suggestions that could satisfy their characters' goals, but they keep saying no, as they only want what they thought of and won't compromise at all. After essentially nothing happens, it was getting late, and I suggest we head out for the night and just think on stuff, and we can try to work it out in the morning. A few days pass, and Alex sends me a message saying Max doesn't want to play anymore, and that they and Billy will be dropping out as well because of it. I relay this info to Joe and Charlie, and they are disappointed. The game never ended up picking up. Additionally, the game Alex was DMing ended up getting put on hiatus because Max wanted to take a break. We all agree, but after some time, we ask when we're gonna play again and are told it's not coming back. Sometime later, Max lets it slip that they're still playing in Alex's campaign, but with them as the only character and Alex using 3 NPCs to accompany them. I'm told by Billy that none of this would have happened had I done what Max wanted. So after being out 2 games, I fell out of the hobby for a few months before meeting up with a new group and getting that love of the game rekindled. I don't speak with that group anymore. A falling out happened, that's another story. But I definitely do want to know if there was anything I could have done better or handled more appropriately. I love catering to my players' ideas and goals, though when the goal is moving away from a setting when it's barely even started, I was a little hurt, especially when not all the players wanted to do that plan. Thanks if you read this all. I felt like laying it out and see what ideas people have had. I'll take the L if I need to if I was the asshole. Just want to be better. End of post 1. There is nothing wrong with being accommodating for your players if said players stated what they are looking for in their character. However, there is a limit to that. A great example happened when I was in a campaign with my brother, which is a horror story itself, but I will give you the TLDR of it. He asked our DM at the start when he was introduced about our side plot objectives if he can earn money for his side objective, which was fishing. The DM realized if he allowed this, it becomes a great disadvantage for the rest of the players, aka myself and one other player, because ours was a mixture of dueling and academia. So the DM allowed it, but also made it fair for the rest of the players as well, so we have a way of earning it. But it didn't stop there. He asked custom this and custom that, and it got so massive that the DM stopped the campaign entirely because of it. It wasn't the only reason, but again, this is a horror story of its own. If you have a player that wants more and more to the point it becomes too much, or it stops being a game that you have created, then it stops being your game/story that you created for the players to be a part of, and becomes more of, this is the player's high fantasy and everyone else is just stepping stones. So no, OP, you are not the a-hole. The next story was written by user BW5 in r/D&D Am I the A-hole with the title, Am I the A-hole for insisting that everyone play a dwarf in a short D&D mini-campaign and refusing to change the premise for one player? Hey y'all, long-time lurker, first-time poster, but anyway, am I the a-hole for insisting that everyone play a dwarf in a short D&D mini-campaign and refusing to change the premise for one player? I, male 34, run a D&D campaign for a group of friends, including a married couple. She's 29, he's 31. During the Christmas season, her husband works 80 to 90-hour weeks, so she asked if we could run a short mini-series during the break so the group could keep playing without progressing the main campaign without him. I agreed and started planning a 5-session mini-campaign. I pitched a concept called Oops All Dwarves, inspired by the tone of The Hobbit. Not an imitation, but a homage. A focus story about a single people, their culture, and the emotional states of defending their homeland. Everyone initially agreed to the all-dwarf premise, including her, and nobody voiced concerns. Because I thought we had a full buy-in, I put a lot of time into building a detailed player packet. Clan lore, history, war setting, character prompts, and thematic tools. The other 3 players were excited and immediately built characters that fit the tone perfectly. But after all that work was shared, this player suddenly said she doesn't want to play a dwarf and insisted on playing a gnome instead. She argued that a gnome could logically exist underground and fit fine. When I explained that the premise depends on everyone being dwarves, shared heritage, shared trauma, unified stakes, she implied I was taking a one-shot too seriously. She also said that if she couldn't play a gnome, she might not want to play at all. That stunned because 1, she originally supported the idea, 2, the objection came only after everything was completed, and 3, it felt dismissive of the time and enthusiasm I put into building something special specifically at her request. I told her kindly but firmly, for this mini-series, the premise is everyone plays a dwarf, and I'm not changing that. I'd love her to join, and she can make any style or personality of dwarf she wants. If she doesn't want to play a dwarf, she can sit this one out and rejoin when the main campaign resumes. No hard feelings. I also checked in personally to make sure there wasn't something else going on, because I don't want this to create real-life conflict. Now, she feels I'm being inflexible and gatekeeping creativity. Meanwhile, the other 3 players are fully committed and excited, already building tone-perfect dwarf characters. So, am I the a-hole for refusing to allow a gnome character and insisting that everyone play a dwarf as originally agreed? It's one thing if this was dropped out of nowhere that everyone is playing an oops all insert class or race mini campaign. I was almost part of an oops all wizard one-shot session for a charity fund a couple years ago with my friends from Dummies and Dice Rolls, but sadly real-life obligations prevented me from joining. I will have to join a mini session with them at least once. Anyways, in the story, everyone was in agreement of playing something minor since the main campaign was on hold during this time frame due to real-life obligations. However, it's hard to be in an Oops All Dwarves campaign if one of the players doesn't want to play as a dwarf. But we do have an update on the situation, so I will hold my verdict on whether or not OP is the asshole. Update. After a good discussion and a clearing the air, we have come to an understanding. To clarify, what she really wanted was the following. She has never enjoyed the aesthetic of classical dwarves and didn't like the idea of a bearded, tough, muscular woman, especially because she wanted to be a rogue. And as this was our first time playing 2024 rules, she didn't realize that stats are no longer tied to race, but background to have some of their abilities. She sees herself as a tricky and clever person, not a stoic, tough character, so with some homebrew and some reskinned traits, she gets to play a wily, cunning, dwarf arcane trickster that fits the setting. Apologies and good vibes were had, and we have an appointment to build her character together so she can do the 2024 rules. We are now good. Thank you all for the support. I am glad that it ended on a good note. Doing something like what OP did is not the worst idea in the world. In my Curriculum Moon campaign that I started in private, I have a rule that when it comes to spells and feats choices, not only that it can be from both the module and the source material of D&D, but I also allow my players to get feats and spells from other sources, like Pathfinder as an example, just as long as I can see the material and can make sure it is balanced for 5e. That way, my players are feeling like they are not limited in the context of just 5e, which honestly has worked out very well so far, but then again, we just literally started at the beginning of this year. Overall, OP, you are not the a-hole. The final story was written by user fit-specialist-1670 in r/D&D Am I the A-hole with the title Am I the A-hole for ending a campaign early/premature because of a problem player. So I'm writing that Fool's Gold into the Bellowing Wilds campaign setting, and it was fun in the beginning, but slowly got worse. I had a player who was huge into min-maxing and power building. I'm sure it's fine. I'm sure you can have fun with that. But as a DM, I don't like it because I feel like it makes things unbalanced. I like story. I like compelling things. I like making things a struggle, and he was one tapping everything. I didn't think it was fair, and I got more and more agitated with him. Fast forward a few months later, it's almost the end of the campaign, not the complete end. And they were going to have a really big final boss fight thing. I had a whole thing prepared and ready for it, and it was going to be really long and fun multi-session fight. We eventually get to the fight, and he just straight up put a bag of holding in another bag of holding and got rid of the BBEG right then and there. I was upset, and I ended the campaign that day. I left and was pretty upset. A little bit later, he couldn't tell that I was upset and kept on joking about it. Am I the asshole for getting upset? Yikes, this doesn't seem like an enjoyable campaign to play in personally. I am the type of player that enjoys roleplay, lore, exploration, and then combat. If the combat session does take multiple sessions because of story reasons, like a tournament or trial by combat style as an example, that makes sense. But if you have multiple sessions of just combat and little to no roleplay, that makes it boring and repetitive. It brings me back too many memories of Dragon Ball Z. Also, you can't have a bag of holding inside another bag of holding because it will cause a paradox or something like that, which you can explain to the player on why it wouldn't work. You could also have said, no, that doesn't work. Plus, there was obvious lack of communication between you and the players. There is nothing wrong with feeling upset, but it becomes wrong if you act impulsively because of those feelings and do not communicate with your players on why you are upset. In the end, OP, you are the a-hole. And that is all of the Am I the A-hole stories here today. Do you agree with the verdict? Did I miss some key points with said verdicts? Let me know down in the comments below. I would love to see what others think about these stories. I always enjoy these stories, so expect more of these as well. Let me know if I should read any Am I the A-hole stories that are outside of D&D, and I can add it to the list. Plus, it gives me a new idea for a new intro and outro for the Am I the A-holes videos like this one. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. Until then, may you find your worth in the waking world.